Hey there, welcome back to Coding with Drew. In this video, we're going to talk all about arrays. So what is an array and why do I care? Arrays are a data type we discussed previously. Its main benefit is that we can store more than one value. You should consider using arrays whenever you're working with a list of values that are related to each other. They're really helpful when you don't know how many items a list will contain, because when you create the array, you don't have to specify how many values it will hold. If you don't know how many items a list will contain, rather than creating individual variables for each potential one, an array is the best solution. Arrays, as I mentioned before, are similar in JavaScript to Bash, except they use square brackets and comma separators. Let's take a look at one. When you create an array, you give it a name, just like any other variable, and you declare it with let or const. The values are assigned in the array inside of a pair of square brackets. Each value is separated by a comma. The values in the array do not need to be the same data type, as you can see in the mixed types array above. This technique for creating an array is called an array literal, and it is the preferred method for creating one. You can also create an array where each value is on its own line. In my humble opinion, this makes it easier to read and visualize the data. I do this all the time. As you can see on the slide, there's a different and, while valid, other way to create an array called an array constructor. I personally will never write code that looks like this, but in the wild, you may encounter other people's code where they do practice JavaScript using this method. I compare it to var, which I don't use. In this method, you declare a variable and assign it the value of a keyword new, followed by a function array with 2 parentheses, in which you pass all of your values as arguments inside of those parentheses. Again, this isn't a preferred method. If you skip straight to JavaScript in this course, you're glazing over some seriously valuable skills in Bash. I recommend you pause the video and refer back to the Bash course on arrays, because there's nothing new here. Okay, so as you know, Bash, pictured above, and JavaScript arrays are automatically indexed, meaning each item in the array has a positional reference that you can use to identify a value. This index can be used to access specific items in the array. For example, in the Bash code above, if I looked at index 0, I'd find A. At 1, I'd find B, and so forth. In the example we leveraged before with dogs, if we wanted to access the third item in the array, remember they start at 0 and count up. You'd be able to call the third item by using square brackets after dog, like in the second line above. This notation is the same as it is in Bash. So item 3 would equal dogs in 0, 1, 2, Chihuahua. So item 3 equals Chihuahua. Each array has a property called length, which holds the number of items in the array. You can access it using the .length method. This is especially useful when creating loops, and we'll get there soon. So let's practice in our browser. Let's open up our browser to google.com. All right, so I'm at google.com and I've opened up my console, and I'm going to create a new variable. We're going to say let my var equal square brackets, semicolon. And then inside the square brackets, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now I've pressed return, it's now saved in memory. Let's do console.log my var and do 0 inside of square brackets. And we close our parentheses and semicolon. You can see that the value of my var at position 0 in the index is 1. So let's do position or index 1. You see the value is 2. Let's do the same thing. And if you're curious how I'm getting this to reprint out inside the console what I previously wrote, I'm just pressing up on the D-pad. And then I press return and the value is 4. This is really all you need to know for accessing variables. I'll see you in the next video.